welcome back everyone. Thank you for joining me right here on Actual English. I'm Jennifer Clyde. It's time for lesson 151 and today let's talk about the delicious, the best of all Korean foods, Korean BBQ, short for barbecue that is. Now, often when I'm talking with my Korean friends and if I say Korean barbecue, they almost instantly think of barbecues such as 갈비 or 불고기, and they don't really seem to think about the other kinds of barbecues. So let's say, for example, you have meat and you're grilling it on a grill. It can be called a barbecue. We can have samgyeopsal, for example, pork belly. That can be called barbecue, Korean barbecue. Even all kinds of meats. If you grill it on a grill, you can call it barbecue. So let's talk about Korean barbecue. It's very special. My mouth is watering right now, but yeah, when it comes to barbecuing meat, especially here in Korea, or if you go to a Korean restaurant anywhere around the world, what's wonderful about it is that you can actually cook the meat in front of you, right there in front of you, at the table, with your friends or family, and it's actually a lot of fun to do so. I fight with my friends and say, I'm gonna, grill the meat. Some of my friends say, no, I'm going to grill the meat because I'm the best at grilling meat. So we often have these arguments, but I, of course, almost always win. And it's just a lot of fun. I like to grill the meat and, watch people enjoying the meat that I have grilled. So that's a fun part of a Korean culture and Korean barbecue, I would say. There's tons of things we can talk about when it comes to this topic, so let's begin by listening to what Michelle and Eugene have to say in today's Actual Talk. Here we go.
So I had an amazing meal last night.
So what did you eat?
Well, I had Korean barbecue.
Oh.
And it was fantastic. It was the first time I had, what was it called? Korean Hanu beef.
Oh, wow.
On the charcoals with the side dishes, everything included. It was fascinating. It really was.
What was so fascinating about it?
Well, I've had it before, but this was particularly special. I think the quality was really, really, really high. But sort of an anecdote, when I first came to Korea, I got taken to a Korean barbecue restaurant. And it was a surprise because I wasn't used to the experience from back home having my own separate dish.
Right.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I think for me it wasn't that much of a shock when I came, but because in the States the most popular Korean restaurants are like the Korean barbecue restaurants.
Really?
So I would go with my friends all the time. Definitely haven't tried the Hanu yet though because it's a little out of my budget.
It's a bit expensive.
Right, but I think it's really awesome just having that family environment, sharing all from like one dish, one meal area. So I think it's definitely a lot of fun. And just there's something about like the environment when you go to like a meat restaurant and just everyone sharing together and just having a good time eating really good food.
Well, the eating seems to be sort of half of the whole experience, I found.
That's true.
I mean, of course, you've got the whole social aspect,
right.
and then there's the sharing aspect.
Right.
Everyone sort of sharing the dishes. Also, there was sort of a drinking aspect when I was eating.
Yeah, I think drinking is always definitely a part of it, especially at the end.
Yeah.
And I think another interesting thing is also, in the States, I'm so used to having my food already come out cooked, but here you have to wait for it to cook.
You do it yourself?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I've been experimenting at home and trying to recreate my friends the whole sort of dining experience of Korean barbecue. How about you come over with your friends and you can give me a score?
That sounds good, definitely.
Okay, welcome back everyone. How did you find the Actual Talk conversation? Was it easy? Was it difficult? Well, I hope that you didn't have too much difficulty understanding what Eugene and Michelle were talking about Korean barbecue. Let's first of all begin by checking out what Eugene said. He said, I had an amazing meal last night. An amazing meal? Pretty much he's saying a delicious meal. Now, Michelle asked, what did you eat? And Eugene said, well, I had Korean barbecue. Here we go. He didn't really mention what type of or which type of Korean barbecue, but he just said Korean barbecue. And it was fantastic. It was really delicious. It was amazing. It was excellent. And it was the first time I had, what's it called? Korean Hanu beef? Now, here he mentions it. Now, he was going to mention what he had, but he wasn't sure, so he said, I had, what's it called? He brought it up as a question, and then he said Korean Hanwoo beef as a question. So that implies that he's not quite sure if he's correct about the name or not, but he thinks it's called Korean Hanwoo beef. That's right, he did have Korean Hanwoo beef. So Michelle says, oh wow, on the charcoals, or charcoal, you can also say charcoal grill, with the side dishes, everything included. It was fascinating. So charcoal, here let's see, charcoal, the word itself, charcoal, it's a material. It could be a material used for drawing. When I was in university, I would often draw with charcoal, okay? So pencil, you can draw charcoal drawings. But in this case, we're talking about material used to cook food, especially on a grill. So that's exactly what he's mentioning. Now, since he said it was fascinating, Michelle says, what was so fascinating about it? And then here we go. Eugene explains. Well, I've had it before. Had. Past tense of have. He's saying that he has eaten it before. Okay, have here has the meaning of to eat. So he's saying, I've had it before, I've eaten it before, I've tried it before. But this was particularly special. And he says, I think the quality of the meat was really high or really good, but sort of an anecdote. And then he goes on by telling us a story. Okay, so here we go. What is an anecdote? An anecdote is usually like a short story or a very interesting story. And it's usually about a real person or a real incident, something that really happened. Often about biographies, okay? An anecdote. And then he tells us, okay, the real story. When I first came to Korea, I got taken to, meaning somebody took me to, or my friends took me to a Korean barbecue restaurant, a BBQ restaurant, and it was a surprise. It was a surprise because I wasn't used to the experience from back home, having my own separate dish. So here he's talking about his very first experience of going to a Korean barbecue restaurant. Pretty simple, okay? Up until here, it's simple. And then he says, it was a surprise. I was taken by surprise. It was really different, for example. Why? Because I was not used to the experience. So he is comparing the experience of going to a meat place, a Korean barbecue restaurant, compared to having meals in the UK, I would say, where they would have their own separate dish. They would have their own separate dishes. Here we all share. But of course, in the UK or in America, most countries, they all have their separate dishes, right? So that's what he's saying. Now, Michelle says, right, I think for me, for her, it wasn't that much of a shock when I came. So she wasn't really surprised. It was not a big shock to her. Why? Because in the States, the most popular Korean restaurants are the Korean barbecue restaurants. And then she tells us how she used to go there. I'd go with my friends all the time. I definitely haven't tried the Hanwoo yet. Not yet, but she plans to. But why hasn't she had the chance to eat or have Hanwoo yet? Because it's a little out of my budget. What is a budget? A budget is like a total sum of money you have saved up, for example, to spend on something, for a purpose. So it's the total amount of money you have saved up that you can use. But here she says it was out of her budget, okay? It's a little out of my budget, so I haven't really had Hanwoo yet. If you say that something is out of your budget or beyond your budget, you're saying that it is a bit too expensive for you. You don't have that much money, okay? He says, yeah, it's very expensive. Right, but I think it's really awesome. What's awesome? Sharing and having that family environment. She likes that. It's really awesome. Sharing from one dish, it's about sharing. one meal area. It's all about sharing, okay? So what she likes about going to restaurants in Korea or these barbecue restaurants, it's all about sharing. She really likes the idea of sharing from one dish. Everyone takes a portion from one dish and one meal area, just one common area, I guess, one meal area, which could mean just a table, okay, shared by a group of people. So I think it's definitely a lot of fun. And there's something about the environment when you go to a meat restaurant. So she's mentioning how it can be very interesting, it can be fun, it's nice to be able to share with your friends or family, and she really likes the environment of these restaurants, okay? Well, the eating seems to be half of the whole experience. So what is Eugene saying? Eating is half of the whole experience. He's saying that eating, of course, is very important. It's not 100%, it's not everything, but eating, just eating, is half of the whole experience, okay? I mean, of course, you've got the whole social aspect. It's all about socializing, talking with each other, sharing your food with many, many people, and there's the sharing aspect, okay? Social aspect, sharing aspect. But the word here, aspect, what exactly does aspect mean? Simply put, in the most simple way, you can say part, okay? The whole social part, the social part of something, okay? There's a sharing part of it, which is quite nice. Also, there was sort of a drinking aspect, okay? A drinking part as well when I was there eating. Yeah, I think drinking is always definitely a part of it, see? So she could have said, it's definitely an aspect of it. It's definitely a part of it, okay? I think another interesting thing is also in the States, I'm so used to having my food already cooked, okay? But here in Korea, you have to make foods cooked. So she's talking about how here in Korea, you have to cook your food yourself. They're not going to cook it for you, but you're going to have to cook the food yourself. But here, let's take a look at that star here. It's our pattern for today. We're going to practice two ways of putting this because it can have two different definitions. If you say you're used to doing something, you're saying that you are familiar with it because you have often done it in the past. You've done it several times, so you are familiar doing it. But if you say, I used to do something, it means that in the past you did it, but most likely not anymore. We'll practice that pattern later on, okay? The whole point is, another interesting part or thing about, okay, eating at these restaurants is that she's used to having her food already cooked. In the States, they bring out cooked food, but in Korea, you have to make the food yourself or cook it yourself. Right. You do it yourself. It's amazing, he says. And then, well, I've been experimenting. Not with beakers or chemicals, but here experimenting means that he has been trying, okay? He's given it several shots. I've been experimenting at home and trying to recreate with my friends the whole dining experience of Korean barbecue. Here, the whole dining experience, basically meaning the complete experience, the exact same dining experience. So he's tried to create that mood and atmosphere, okay, with his friends. How about you come over with your friends and you can give me a score. Give me a score, rate me, tell me how well I've done in recreating this whole atmosphere of eating at a Korean barbecue restaurant, but it'll be at his place. So he's inviting Michelle to come on over to his house with her friends and he's willing to cook for them, okay? And of course, Michelle says, that sounds good, definitely. So she's willing to go. She's saying, yes, I would love to go to your place and have you cook for us. Okay, I think it was pretty easy. Let's take a listen to the actual talk conversation one more time.
So I had an amazing meal last night.
So what did you eat?
Well, I had Korean barbecue.
Oh.
And it was fantastic. It was the first time I had, what was it called? Korean Hanu beef.
Oh, wow.
On the charcoals with the side dishes, everything included. It was fascinating. It really was.
What was so fascinating about it?
Well, I've had it before, but this was particularly special. I think the quality was really, really, really high. But sort of an anecdote, when I first came to Korea, I got taken to a Korean barbecue restaurant. And it was a surprise because I wasn't used to the experience from back home having my own separate dish.
Right.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I think for me it wasn't that much of a shock when I came, but because in the States the most popular Korean restaurants are like the Korean barbecue restaurants.
Really?
So I would go with my friends all the time. Definitely haven't tried the Hanu yet though because it's a little out of my budget.
It's a bit expensive.
Right, but I think it's really awesome just having that family environment, sharing all from like one dish, one meal area. So I think yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. And just there's something about like the environment when you go to like a meat restaurant and just everyone sharing together and just having a good time eating really good food.
Well, the eating seems to be sort of half of the whole experience, I found.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, of course, you've got the whole social aspect,
Right.
and then there's the sharing aspect.
Right.
Everyone sort of sharing the dishes. Also, there was sort of a drinking aspect when I was eating.
Yeah, I think drinking is always definitely a part of it, especially at the end.
Yeah.
And I think another interesting thing is also in the States, I'm so used to having my food already come out cooked, but here you have to
Right,
wait for it to cook.
you do it yourself.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I've been experimenting at home and trying to recreate my friends the whole sort of dining experience of Korean barbecue. How about you come over with your friends and you can give me a score?
That sounds good, definitely.
All right, welcome back, everyone. It's time for actual expressions. Let's take a look at these words here and then move on over to our patterns for the day. Of course, when we talk about barbecuing, Korean barbecue, we cannot leave out charcoal or even grills. As I mentioned, charcoal or charcoal grill was the word. Now, charcoal, I did mention that it could be a material. A pencil for drawing of charcoal, or charcoal could be used as a material for cooking food, especially on a grill. I usually fight over this as well. I like to get the charcoal ready before having a barbecue, so keep that word in mind. Anecdote. Stress goes on the first syllable. An anecdote is what? It's often a very interesting story about a person or a real incident. So, some synonyms are episode or an account. Budget. We're talking about funds, money, the total sum of money you have, and some synonyms are cost and finances. And what about aspect? Aspect, here we go. Some synonyms are nature, quality, or character. I mentioned that a very simple synonym for aspect could be part. Okay, there was a social part, social aspect. Sharing aspect, sharing part, okay? We're talking about these qualities. Okay, it's our first pattern for today. Be out of one's budget, or be beyond one's budget, or be out of one's price range. So here we have budget, beyond, and here we go. Be out of one's budget, be beyond one's budget, or to be out of one's price range. These all mean that something is too expensive. You cannot afford to pay for it because you don't have that much money. Okay? So let's practice how to use these patterns. I really liked the car, but it was out of my budget. So what would this sentence mean? You're telling your friend or somebody that you saw a car and you really wanted to buy it. You really, really liked the car, but it was out of your budget, meaning it was too expensive. You could not afford to pay for it, thus you couldn't buy it. Okay? It was out of my budget. What about the apartment was beyond my budget? Way here meaning very much. Okay? So it was too expensive, way too expensive. The apartment was way beyond my budget. Even when it comes to renting a place, you have to pay a monthly rent. Sometimes rent can be very expensive. So in that case, if you don't have that much money to pay for rent, you can say, the apartment was way beyond my budget. Okay? Here we go. Be used to doing something. Keep in mind, ing, okay? Not an infinitive, but an ing form. In this case, you're what? You're saying that you are familiar with something, or you are used to doing something. You feel comfortable doing something because you've done it often before. The kids are used to playing by themselves. They've played by themselves many, many, many times, so they are used to it. They are familiar with something. Okay, what about this one? I'm used to doing things on my own now. Maybe not in the beginning, but now. Since in the past I've done so many things by myself on my own, I'm used to doing things on my own now. So you're comfortable doing things by yourself now because you've done it several times. What about this one? Be used to plus infinitive, okay? The verb in its basic form. Let's take a look. In this case, you're talking about how you used to do something in the past but no longer. You don't do it anymore. I used to run every morning. So, what does this sentence mean? I used to run every morning. In the past, you ran every morning, but now you don't run every morning. Not anymore. Okay, is it easy to understand? Let's try out one more sentence. I used to love meat. So in that case, you really enjoyed eating meat in the past, but not anymore. You don't love meat anymore. You did in the past, but not anymore. Got it? Here we go with one more pattern. The whole something experience. We're talking about the complete experience of something. The whole learning experience was a lot of fun. So this is just a way of stressing something. You can say, the learning experience was fun. But if you want to stress it, every bit of that experience was fun, you can say the whole learning experience was fun. And this one, I really enjoyed the whole college experience. So you're saying, I really enjoyed college. No, you're saying I really enjoyed every bit of my college experience, everything about college. Here we go one more time together. I really enjoyed the whole college experience. All right, job well done, everyone.
One of the things I love most about Korea is the food. Just there's so many amazing choices, and the meat. Korean barbecue is hands down one of my favorite meals. Just going out there, ordering pork or beef, and then mixing it together with the vegetables and the rice. It's just an awesome experience. But it's a little strange for foreigners too, because it's family style eating. You order food for everyone, and everyone eats from the same soup bowl. In America, the soup bowl, you take the soup and then individually serve it. So it's kind of a culture shock. When I went back home to the United States and had soup last time, I would use the same spoon again, and they would just yell, "Alex, stop double dipping." You can't do that in America. Double dipping, of course, when you eat something and then put it back in the plate that everyone uses. But once foreigners get over that, I think most people really do enjoy Korean-style barbecue. It's definitely an amazing experience.
Thank you, Alex, for a very, very wonderful actual story. Well, very wonderful. Kind of doesn't make sense, but thank you. That was amazing. Let's take a look at what Alex actually mentioned. Of course, he's talking about Korean barbecue, right? Korean barbecue is, hands down, one of my favorite meals. So hands down, what does that mean? It means most definitely. When you want to stress something, you can say, hands down. So Korean barbecue is, hands down, one of my favorite meals. Ordering pork or beef and then mixing it together with the vegetables on the rice. It's just an awesome experience, okay? He's giving us some examples of what you will see people doing at a Korean barbecue restaurant. You grill the meat, for example, And then after having the meat, you often get rice, and you can also order stew. You got those vegetables as side dishes. You can mix it all up. Or perhaps even he was talking about bibimbap possibly. Okay, so pork or beef. Okay, pork or beef, and then you mix it with the veggies and rice. It's wonderful, he says. When I went back home to the United States and had soup last time, I would use the same spoon again. And they would yell, "Hey, Alex, stop double dipping." So I think this is what his friend said, or maybe his family member said. What he's saying, he would use the same spoon again, meaning he was double dipping. "Alex, stop double dipping." He explained to us what double dipping is, but just to help you understand a little better, double dipping is, for example, you go to a party and you have chips and dip, right? Everyone shares the dip, but you're double dipping if you take a chip, take a bite, and dip it again in the sauce that everyone is having. That is double dipping. Or using the same spoon, you maybe take a sip of the soup and then you dip it into the stew or soup again. That's double dipping, okay? All right, and finally, but once foreigners get over that, once they get used to it, I think most people really do enjoy Korean-style barbecue. I think that was a wonderful response. So thanks to Alex once again, and have a listen one more time.
One of the things I love most about Korea is the food. Just there's so many amazing choices, and the meat. Korean barbecue is hands down one of my favorite meals. Just going out there, ordering pork or beef, and then mixing it together with the vegetables and the rice. It's just an awesome experience. But it's a little strange for foreigners too, because it's family style eating. You order food for everyone, and everyone eats from the same soup bowl. In America, the soup bowl, you take the soup and then individually serve it. So it's kind of a culture shock. When I went back home to the United States and had soup last time, I would use the same spoon again, and they would just yell, "Alex, stop double dipping." You can't do that in America. Double dipping, of course, when you eat something and then put it back in the plate that everyone uses. But once foreigners get over that, I think most people really do enjoy Korean-style barbecue. It's definitely an amazing experience.
There are many things that foreigners may not understand, and foreigners may find strange when they first come to Korea and go to, many different kinds of restaurants. For example, some people may be surprised that we actually use scissors at the table to cut food, right? Or even sharing from the same soup bowl or stew could be quite different. But yeah, I would say once they get used to it, they will have a chance to understand more about the Korean culture, more about Koreans, and all about Cheong, that is. It's so Korean and I love it. I hope you had a good time today and learned lots. Next time, let's talk about another delicious type of food. It's one of my favorites. I think I like it even more than barbecue. It's ramyeon. Okay, let's talk about that next time. In the meantime, come to our homepage. Come on over to www.ebse.co.kr. Look for Actual English with Jennifer. And as always, feel more than free to come by to leave us a comment, question, or even a single just word meaning hello, hi. Okay, that's all for today. I'll catch you again next time. Bye, everyone.